What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt, and we're back with another episode. And today's guest is Jason Khalipa, 2008 CrossFit Games champion, veteran of the sport, one of the real OGs of the CrossFit Games, although that makes him sound old, and he's really not that old. But he's crushed it on multiple levels. Owner of NC Fit Gym. I think he has 20 different locations all over the world. Awesome family man. Awesome athlete. Fit dude. Jacked, strong, functional. You're going to love this episode. It was a treat. Really cool to have Jason on the show. This was a fun one for me because I first found out about Jason. I think we even talked about this in the episode on YouTube. I was watching a YouTube video. It was him and Rich Froning going at it. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, holy shit, because at this time, this was maybe 2012, 2013. At this time, I really didn't have a great understanding of CrossFit. I really dug deep into it around that time, about 2013. I wanted to learn a lot about it because I saw these guys. I'm like, oh man, they're strong. They have good physiques. They're athletic and functional. This is very interesting to me. I want to learn about this aspect of fitness, and it kind of led me down a year and a half worth of really digging deep into it. And so this is cool. It's cool. Jason is he's a legend. All right. Without further ado, let's just get to the episode. Jason Khalipa.
Got done building another rower. Definitely dominating my buddies we're trying to battle on how many rowers we can get done, and I think I'm gonna beat my buddy Brett.
Well, you're kind of known for the rower, actually doing the rowing.
No, we're just building them.
I know.
So man. Well, hey, I'm glad we're able to catch up. We're just I'm just gonna be doing my thing. So. Yeah, would love to chat with you. Whatever direction you want to go, I'm down.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, Jason. I'm really excited to talk to you. Well, cool. I think you first got on my radar a little late. I mean, I kind of got into CrossFit a little late. I think it was probably after Rich already had won one or two games, and you two had a showdown. I think during the Open, possibly.
Yeah.
What year was that?
In like San Francisco or something. That was 2013, I think. Was probably the one.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, this Jason Khalipa guy has been able to build or maintain quite a bit of muscle on CrossFit.
Yeah.
What was your body weight around then?
It's been about the same for years now. I've been about give or take 212. And it's just kind of been that way for a very long time.
Yeah, well, you were one of the bigger guys, right?
Yeah, one of the bigger guys. I mean, for sure. I spent a lot of time, working on the gymnastics. I spent a lot of time working on aerobic capacity, and so obviously that's contributed. That's helped. The thing about weight is obviously a huge factor, but you got to find like the perfect ground in CrossFit. And so in CrossFit, I'd probably say that the perfect blend would probably be somewhere around like a 5'9", 190.
Yeah.
Probably where you need to be. So I was a little heavier than that. And then you got guys like, Rich is a little lighter than that. Maybe about that, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point I was going for. How were you able to kind of blend the maintaining of the size and the strength, but also still be able to be competitive on the endurance-based stuff?
I mean, obviously that's just time, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time on the track. My body genetically, I'm more prone to, building more muscle, maintaining more weight. And so what I had to spend a lot of time on is time on my feet, aerobic capacity, get out to the track a couple days a week. From a gymnastics perspective, I'd throw in training like, every minute on the minute, 10 handstand push-ups, 10 strict pull-ups, et cetera. For, months on end, I would do that once or twice a week to develop that capacity there. And so it wasn't so much like, I tried getting lighter, but I didn't feel like my performance was where I wanted to be. And so for me, my body, give or take around that 210 range was where I felt comfortable at. And so I had to do everything in my power to train the different systems so I could perform with that weight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what was your background in before you got into CrossFit, training wise?
Yes. I mean, in high school, I threw the shot at track, and then I competed I played football. And going to college, it didn't really work out for me to go play football, and so I ended up going to a junior college, and I started working at a gym while I was in high school, the front desk. And so I really got interested in the bodybuilding, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I graduated from high school, I went to college. I started kind of getting into that. Then I got into Muay Thai for a little while, cut a lot of weight. So in high school, I was about 240, 250.
Oh, wow.
I cut a lot of, when I was playing football. And then I cut a lot of weight through Muay Thai and through bodybuilding stuff. And then I found CrossFit in 2006. So I graduated from high school in 2004, graduated from college in 2008, but I found CrossFit in 2006, 2007, and I really got into it and started opening up a gym and competing in the CrossFit Games, and a lot of stuff's happened ever since.
Yeah. So you found CrossFit in 2006, and then you won the games in 2008. It's a crazy evolution on where CrossFit has gone from the early years to now.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I found CrossFit in 2006 from a buddy, but I really didn't get into it until, I was probably only really into it for like maybe 8-9 months, maybe a year at the most before I won the games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I mean, I had a background in, my Muay Thai conditioning was good. My bodybuilding, pure strength, plus obviously all the football stuff, gave a good foundation. But nowadays, it would be highly unlikely nowadays regardless of your previous athletic career, it'd be highly unlikely to get into CrossFit for a year and then go out and win the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, you'd have to be a complete freak.
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy like Matt Frazier who got into it. He had over a decade of experience in weightlifting, which obviously helped. So, I mean, maybe there's exceptions to the rule, but in general, you need a lot of time to get good at so many different things.
Yeah, 100%. What did your training look like when you were in the, I guess in the prime of competing in the CrossFit Games?
I mean, for me, I've been trying to balance a lot of different things for a long time with my family, the business, fitness. I didn't have, 6 hours a day just to kind of train, sit at the gym, train, sit at the gym. That just wasn't part of my routine for a lot of years. So for me, I was trying to balance, hey, how do I grow my business? Be a good father, be a good husband, but also get in the training time I need to win. And so, I'd wake up early, get in a session, get in like a big session midday with the crew. And then oftentimes right before dinner, I'd hit something else just in the garage. And that's generally the way it was, like morning conditioning, midday, like, CrossFit for lack of a better term. And then evening, more skill work, more like, stamina building in the garage, and did that for a lot of years.
Yeah, because I mean, you kind of hear the rumors of the like Rich Froning style training, where it's like he's training literally all day long, and it just seemed like, because I mean, you were running the businesses with the family and everything, that just really wouldn't even be an option.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, CrossFit as a professional sport for some people is their full-time job.
Yep.
I mean, take Matt Frazier. He's newly engaged, awesome guy. But he's made it clear that his focus is training, and throughout the duration of the day, his goal is singly focused on, hey, how am I going to win the CrossFit Games? And spending the entire day focused on that, which I think is commendable for him, because that's his purpose and that's his goal right now. But once he knows that once life shifts and the games might start to change for him, and he wants to start a family, he knows he won't have that same kind of time. And so as a professional CrossFit athlete, it is something people should know about, is that only a very select few people make enough money to make it their full-time gig. And I think there's this kind of CrossFit in the next maybe 2 years, I think people will start having a better idea of it. But I think right now there's still these people who wake up and think they can go to the CrossFit Games, and anybody can, but I don't know if they will. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a young guy getting into football. and thinking he's going to make it to the NFL. He knows that he wants to have those aspirations, those goals, which is commendable. But at the same time, he also is realistic that, hey, I need to get an education because the chances of me going to NFL are X, Y, Z. It's the same thing in CrossFit right now. The chances of you making it on the podium are very slim. And if you're not in the top 10, top 20, there's really no money to be made.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to make a living off from just this is sport alone. Really, you have to look at other things, like whether it's owning a gym or really developing yourself as a social media type of influencer, or trying to develop yourself as a coach or someone who has a lot of experience and influence into helping others or something like that. And that's pretty much what you did. I mean, when did you start your first gym, and how many gyms do you have now? I know it's like all over the world now.
Yes. I mean, we started in 2008, opened the gym in July 2008, ended up winning the CrossFit Games the exact same month, which was pretty crazy. And, because at the time there was no money. I mean, I'm actually really grateful for that because, nowadays, there's lucrative sponsorship agreements, right? I've had plenty of them through different sponsors, and you wouldn't have had the same pressure to go out there and start a business, because if you are in the top of the game, you can make a full-time living. But it was nice because back in 2008, there was no money in it. And so I had to go and pursue something else to generate money. And then, competing was more of a passion, right? And so I opened the gym in 2008, won the CrossFit Games in 2008. And now we currently have 20 locations, including corporate sites and open to the public sites globally in 8 different countries. And it's been an awesome ride.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I really wanted to dig into that because I think that's something that it's really valuable on how you were able to, I mean, you're still, even though you're not competing, you're still training all the time, have a family, definitely are crushing it on the business side. And this is a question I get asked all the time. How do you balance everything?
Well, I mean, I like to have this idea that I call, it's called the AMRAP Mentality. And really what the AMRAP Mentality is this idea of kind of treating each thing throughout your duration of the day as an AMRAP, right? So it's when you're an AMRAPing or as many rounds as possible, you're focused, you're present. If you're doing max burpees in 2 minutes, that's all you're thinking about. And that's kind of one of the ways that I try and focus throughout the duration of the day. It's like when I'm at work, be at work. When I'm at home, be at home. And by segmenting the day into small AMRAPs, it's been a nice way to get more work done in less time, right? Just like, if you go to the gym and you're on your phone half the time, you get on the elliptical for 5 minutes, you're not going to get much done. But if you go to the gym, you turn on a clock and you really attack it, you get a lot of work done. That same thing can be applied to outside the gym as well. And that's kind of the focus. Yeah,
I love that. I love doing that too. Like even when I'm sitting at my desk working, I'll turn on a clock. I'll literally turn on a clock, a stopwatch for 30 minutes or whatever, and I will 100% focus in that 30 minutes only on one task. And that's the only thing. I'll put my phone away, put everything away, so there's no distraction. So yeah, I completely live by the AMRAP mentality too. I really like it.
Yeah, and I mean, and people will be amazed. If you turn on a clock and you go for 20, 30 minutes on a task, you'd be amazed what you can get accomplished. And people don't even realize how many distractions there are in this world right now, especially with the digital age. And so by being present and focused, you can get a lot more done.
Yeah, and it's so crazy the time that we live in right now, but it's, you don't even realize, unless you're paying attention, you don't realize how much time you waste. I mean, you're working on something, but then you check your phone, then you're scrolling on Instagram, and then someone sends you a text, and then you answer it, and then before you know it, an hour's gone by and you haven't even done any work.
That's right. Exactly. And I mean, how many times, the worst of the worst is watching 2 people at a restaurant and both of them are on their phones instead of having communication with each other, right? I mean, it's just crazy. It's like, then don't even go to the restaurant, right? I mean, my thing is, look, if you want to be on your phone more, do whatever you want. But I mean, you got to find a balance. I mean, if you're going to choose to go and spend time with your significant other, spend time with your significant other, but it's become an addiction. And frankly, it's something that I struggle with myself. And it's something that I got to continuously remind myself with such easy access to information. It's easy to become addicted to that information. And I think we all just need to do a better job just kind of taking a step back sometimes, myself included.
Yeah, well, because our phone it's unlimited information too. It's not even just
That's
like
right.
it's information. It's like it's unlimited. So when you go on a social media app or something, or really anything on the internet, it's just you can continue going down the rabbit hole over and over to the point where, I mean, the time just goes away real quick.
That's right. That's right. Whether it's news, social media, whatever it is, there's a lot of information to consume on the internet, which is, again, a blessing and a curse. Blessing is, last night my daughter was trying to see if cats blink, right? Mm-hmm. So she asked Siri she asked Siri if cats blink, and you get instant information, whereas you could also then be on it for hours. So it's pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that the information's available so readily. But like you say, you can get down that rabbit hole. So I want to talk about nutrition a little bit.
Sure.
What was your nutrition like when you were competing compared to now? Has it changed at all?
No, not really. I mean, a lot of people, nutrition is very important, but I think at least from my experience, for a lot of the top guys, maybe not necessarily the ladies, but for the guys, most of the gentlemen just kind of eat what they feel their body needs. It's challenging to just eat broccoli and et cetera, and be able to perform multiple workouts throughout the duration of the day. And so for me, generally I don't eat as much throughout the duration of the day. And in the evening, I'll have a bigger meal. Some people would call it like an intermittent fasting, but it's not quite that. Some people say, there's a keto diet, the paleo diet, the zone diet. There's so many different diets you could follow. For me, it was just, eating meals throughout the duration of the day that allowed me not to feel sluggish. So that's like moderate meals that try and be balanced in macronutrients as much as possible. And then in the evening, because I'm done working out, I might have a larger meal because I don't mind feeling a little bit sluggish before I go to bed, right? That was just what I did for a long time. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just what works for me, and it still works for me today.
What would like a sample day be?
I think a sample day is I like to have, so let's just say I'm working out in the morning. I like to eat some type of like a brand, like this is just me now. Mm-hmm. I like to eat some type of like brand type cereal, maybe a little bit like an egg, like one egg. Like we're not talking a lot of food at all. Fast forward a little bit later on in the day, I'm generally on the road. So I might stop by and find some type of like vegetable and meat, whether it's deli meat and vegetables, could be some type of salad from an easy restaurant, middle of the day. You could fast forward a little bit, might have some type of like simple bar. There's several different bars I'm a big fan of, but generally speaking, it's ones that are kind of like peanut or nut based. Mm-hmm. And then, in the evening, I'll go home and that's where I really consume most of the calories because my wife will cook and we'll have some type of like, fish, chicken. I don't really eat much red meat just because I don't digest it very well for myself. And then, she makes all kinds of stuff and that's where I consume most of my calories. So again, if it sounds like I don't eat much during the day, that's true. I don't, because I'm oftentimes running around, going to different gyms. Maybe I'm working out, maybe I'm traveling, whatever it is. And so that's what my body likes to perform for me.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. How many days a week are you in the gym training right now? Like in terms of lifting, I know you're doing Jiu-Jitsu quite a bit too. Want to get into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I travel a lot, but no matter what, I'm working out every day, period. Okay. Every single day I work out. I do some type of movement. Some days I do a CrossFit style workout and I do Jiu-Jitsu. Some days I just do a CrossFit style workout at our gyms. It just depends, but the heavy lifting is kind of shifted. I don't desire and I don't really want to, go for 1 RMs anymore. I have these goals in my head of numbers that I'd like to keep on my clean and jerk, my snatch, my back squat. As long as I'm keeping those, I feel pretty good. But what I'm spending more time on than anything right now is on strength wise is like slow eccentric loading, 3 to 5 rep sets, really time under tension type stuff versus just going for a 1 RM.
Yeah, more probably longevity type of stuff rather than competition-based training.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go out there and do a 1 rep max clean and jerk or snatch. I I don't need to do that. So I might, work up on a ladder and do some stuff, and that's fine. But nowadays I'll hit a certain number and I'll be cool. So like, for example, I was snatching the other day. I worked my way up with a buddy, hit 255 and just was good. Like that was cool because my hips are still strong, but my shoulders don't have the same stability as they used to as much. And so even though my 1RM before that was pretty, it's 300, I'm not in that position. So I just take my time. Same thing with clean. I worked my way up to 315, and that's not close to my max, but that's where I am right now because my position started to break down. I'm rounding my back. My midline stabilization, my midline is just not as strong as it used to be, and I just need to be aware of that. And frankly, I just need to realize like it's all good. Like the numbers I'm sharing with you, it's not like I feel weak. It's just I'm not as strong as I was because I'm not as focused on it anymore.
Yeah, it's just all priorities. I mean, when you were competing, it was more important. That's why
right.
you were chasing that.
Yeah, you're chasing that. You're chasing every night, going to bed, being like, hey, did I do the best I could to put me in a position to win? And nowadays it's more like, hey, did I do everything I could to maintain my fitness, be a good husband, father, and then grow the business? I mean, they're different priority shifts. And I think fitness, especially at a high level in CrossFit, you got to be careful. It's a lot of volume. And, only time will tell what effect this has on people's body. And so for me, I'm just trying to be aware of how much volume, because, I mean, if you think like there was a point in my life where every week, in addition to all of my training, I made it mandatory for myself to do 300 air squats, right? Yeah. So all training aside, in 1 week, I would do some type of training that got me 300 air squats, 200 pull-ups. Like I had these like benchmarks that I had to do outside of any training. But when I look back at it, I did that to develop stamina in my legs. But now I look at it, I'm like, wow, that was a ton of squats for a very long time. I need to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to not have long-term effects from that.
Yeah. Well, I heard you talk about, specifically talking about competing in the past, about having a deeper meaning and the importance of, having that deeper meaning to compete. And I think that kind of lends itself to kind of what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think anybody who wants to compete at the CrossFit Games or anybody who wants to do anything needs to have a, strong internal why, especially in CrossFit. I've had times where, things are really, your back's up against the wall. It's like, hey, are you going to be able to break through? And I think some of these guys who get into CrossFit for fame or fortune, they don't know what they don't know what they're getting themselves into. It's a long journey to ever make any money, and it's a long journey to ever get popular in CrossFit. And I think it's important that your focus should be, hey, I love to train. I love to do this. I want to express my, my God-given talents, whatever it is, versus, I want to make it to, you need to have a stronger internal why, because when you get into the open or you get at regionals and things become really tough, you're going to need to, dig deep. And if you don't have that deep, you're going to lose.
What was your deeper meaning?
I mean, for me, for a lot of years, it was that I just loved to train. We would have our crew, we would train for years and years and years. I really enjoyed the process of training. It was fun for me. And then the expression of that was competing. And so kind of like to pay homage to all this training, I wanted to go see how I stacked up against the best in the world. And each year I would just say to myself, hey, do I want to make the commitment to go and do this? It's going to keep me fit. It's going to push me mentally and physically. And I'm talented at it. But once I made that commitment, that was a commitment I made to myself, my family, my friends, and I was going to follow through with it. So my deeper why was, hey, look, I love to train. Let's honor that training by competing and just see where we stack up. And then once I made the commitment that I was going to compete, now there's nothing else that's going to stop me, right? Once I made that commitment, I'm going to follow through with my commitment. Just like if you were doing a 10-minute AMRAP, you're not going to stop at minute 9. Like, that's just not okay. Like, you made a commitment to go 10. If you can't do 10, then you should have set the commitment of doing 7, But once you make a commitment in your head, I think it's really important to follow through with that, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, that self-discipline. You got to hold yourself to what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so important. But yeah, just touching on that last point, I mean, I talk about this a lot, that when it's hard to compete against somebody in anything, whether it's sports or business or whatever, if they truly love it, because they're going to put in all that extra work because they really love what they're doing. If you don't love it, it doesn't matter, because eventually you're just not going to want to do the work anymore.
Yeah, and I think the love for it. I think the love for it, or having that internal drive. You look at someone, for example, like Rich. I do think Rich loves to train, but he also wants to, give glory to God for his physical capabilities. And so for a guy like him, who's extremely faith-based, it's hard to compete with someone who truly believes in their heart and their soul that God has given them a gift and they can go out there and go perform. And I'm just using it as an example. Mm-hmm. This is just an example for him, right? And whereas you take a guy like, I don't know, Matt Frazier, it's not as much faith driven, but for him, he's been training at a high level in Olympic weightlifting for years and years and years. And he probably feels like, I don't know what his internal, clock is. I think he just loves to compete and he's really gifted at it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, one thing about, those two guys, you already talked about Matt Frazier, how he doesn't have a family and he's pretty much just 100% focused on training. And then once Rich, developed the family, he kind of got out of the individual work. How did training affect your family life, affect your marriage, and affect you as a father?
Well, I mean, I think you look back on it and, it got to a point for me in 2015, I had to take a step back and go team, because it was just too much, I competed as an individual for 7 years, and I got married in 2009. So I won in 2008 and then performed well, each year after. But like in 2014, when I was back on the podium in 13 and 14, I had my son. So I had my daughter in 2011, I had my son in 2014. And so, you have 2 kids, you're married, you have a growing business. At some point, you can't spend 4 hours a day training because you're not doing the best you can as a husband and father. And so I think naturally, if you ever want to be good at, if you want to be a good husband and father, it's very challenging to have that many commitments. And so I think I had to be real with myself that, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
You're in the garage training because you made a commitment to win, but all of a sudden your kids want to play with you and you're saying no. And so, those kind of decisions I didn't want to have to decide anymore. I was in the garage yesterday working out and my son comes in, he wants to hang out. I'm just like, you know what? Let's hang out. Whatever. If it's all good, because it's just my priorities have shifted.
Yeah, 100%. How, I guess what advice would you have for maybe young parents out there who, I don't know, they want to achieve whatever, whether in athletics or in business? What advice would you give to them to, kind of balance everything, but also try to be the best parent they can be, the best husband they can be, and also the best at whatever other endeavors that they want to be?
I mean, I think ultimately it comes down to a dose of just being real about what's going on. It's like, okay, I want to be good at this. I can't be good at everything. I can't, for me, I can't be with my kids all day, every day, and assume I'm going to provide for them for the rest of their lives and provide them college and whatever else, right? It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
If I have to go to work, I have to make money to provide for my family. That's just the way it goes. And so I think just being real about what the challenges are ahead of you and allocating, where priorities are. Like, for example, my wife and I, she knows that right now we're in a growth phase for our business. And so it's going to be some sacrifice with the family. I mean, I travel a lot and she's okay with that. And I'm okay with that because we're laying the foundation for our family for the rest of our lives. And obviously there's a give and a take there. But I think if every night you just ask yourself, hey, how did I do as a husband, a father, a business owner, et cetera? And if you have a time where you're not doing as well in certain areas, that's okay. Just try and improve on it in the next couple of days. So when I'm traveling to Asia for our new locations, I'm doing really good as a business owner, but I'm not doing very good as a husband or a father. And so how do I improve on that? Well, I do it when I get home, right? And just having a reflection point almost daily, then this way you don't wake up 10 years from now and wonder, what you could have done better. The same thing applies to my daughter. When my daughter got diagnosed with leukemia, my wife and I, we sat there and we had to make a very, very fast decision. And we made a decision based on all the information we had. And we reflect back on that last week. We were reflecting back on it. We said, hey, look, we did everything in our power at the time to provide our daughter with the best treatment protocol we could have. And now it's been a little over 2 years. And there's nothing else to be said, because the information we have today is different than the information we had 2 years ago. But we made the best decision we could. And I think if every day you make the best decision you can to achieve whatever you're looking for as a family, then you'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's wild. I did want to get into that. I'm sure you learned a ton from just going through the experience with your daughter there. But I guess if you could maybe boil it down to one or two things, what do you think you really learned about maybe yourself, your wife, your family, about going through that tough time?
I mean, first and foremost, just having different perspective. If someone's, when I'm at a stoplight and people are getting all crazy because they're just rushing to get places and they get so angry, sometimes I just want those same people to, go sit in the pediatric oncology center of a hospital and really reflect on, that there's always blessings to be had if you really think about it. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the negative going on in life that we never realize there's a lot of positives going on. I think if you take a step back and you really reflect, you have your health, you have your family, you have your job, whatever it may be, versus saying, oh my God, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. I think that's been the biggest thing, is that every time I go back to the hospital, every time, I am humbled and I am more appreciative than ever of the blessings that we have. And I think that's been the biggest difference. And then obviously the power of family, power of close friends, power of the support system, and finally, probably just the power of working your ass off. I used to think you make money, you want to send your kids to college, you want to have nice watches, you want to have a nice house, and that's all good and well. But I never really understood the power of money until Ava was diagnosed, and it was just one last thing we ever had to worry about. My internal drive to grow the business is to provide for myself, my family, but also as many people as possible, because we've seen how much financial struggle can play a role in families. And I think you should do everything in your power to work as hard as you can, so that God forbid anything ever happens to you or your family, you at least have one less thing to worry about. That was a big takeaway from this entire experience.
Yeah, I mean, because, man, I think that's something that, probably doesn't get talked about enough, but just not having, you have the businesses set up, you have people in place to help you run those businesses, so then you could 100% focus on your family. Because if you had to work and still make money and then, pay for stuff, I mean, bills don't stop. I mean, they're just, again, like you said, one other thing that you'd have to worry about, and then you wouldn't be able to give your full attention to where it was really needed.
Yeah. I mean, there's no bigger, for anybody who's listening to your show, there's no better motivation to get up and go work your ass off than this idea that if one day something happened to your family, you should put yourself in the best position possible to take one less worry off your plate, which is a financial burden. Because I've seen families just broken in so many different ways. But one is the financial struggle. You have one of the family is staying, one of the husband or wife is staying at the hospital. The other has to go to work. Resentment builds up. And that's why at least for cancer patients, there's an 80% divorce rate for families with pediatric cancer.
Oh, wow.
And I think granted, 50% is the typical statistic, right?
Yeah. It's not good to begin with.
Not good to begin with. But you figure, 80% chance because, and in large part because the financial struggle starts to come into play. And so never did I realize the power of hard work in setting up structure in your business than I did once Ava got sick.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when did you first get into Jiu-Jitsu?
I got into Jiu-Jitsu right around when Ava got sick, so right around January 2016, but I didn't really, do it as consistently. I've been doing it now, just about 2 years. I competed once at white belt, won all my matches, got my blue belt. I'm looking to compete again here in about 2 weeks and hopefully perform to, my expectations and maybe get a purple belt. We'll see what happens.
Oh, that's awesome. How, or what made you decide to get into Jiu-Jitsu? What made you decide to get onto the mats and grapple a little bit?
Well, back in the day, I mean, we subleased some space to a jiu-jitsu guy, and I did it for a while. And then before that, I have the Muay Thai background. And so with the Muay Thai, I was kind of into the striking. I like the idea of it. I like the self-defense aspect. I like the physical, challenge. And then, I'd see jiu-jitsu, so I got into it. But, jiu-jitsu has a high, large barrier to entry.
Yep.
You got to really be open to, there's a lot of things about it that aren't very comfortable. And so for a while, I kind of shied away from it. But now that I've really gotten into it, it's a phenomenal art. It's like playing human chess, and there's always something to learn. And the self-defense aspect is obviously incredible. And so for me, part of it was, I had all this fitness, but I didn't necessarily know how to apply it in a self-defense perspective.
Yep.
And I like that portion of it. And then I also like getting comfortable with uncomfortable. Every time going up against somebody, and it's almost like you're competing on a daily basis, just in a real physical struggle. And I like that. I like that idea.
I'm sure.
It humbles you.
I'm sure they got you when you first came in. You probably got a unique response. How did everyone respond? I mean, it was like you see this big guy, jack guy. Especially with jiu-jitsu, I feel like sometimes, especially if you don't really have a huge grappling background, you can almost advance yourself too quickly just because you are fit and you are really strong.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you could play towards those strengths, right? And I mean, yes. So basically, I got connected to some cool people through CrossFit, and they know who I was. They knew my background, and so when I would enter into the gyms, I started off doing privates for a little bit, which was cool because I kind of got my, at least the idea of, what is a guard, what is side control, et cetera. And then so when I actually got into it, everybody knew, hey, this guy, because the problem is as a white belt, if you're super strong, sometimes you can come off a little aggressive.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of what I was going for there.
Right? And so I had to learn very quickly that, I've had good training partners this entire time, but now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, I'm a lot more controlled. But definitely the pure strength, the strength and conditioning side that CrossFit provides to jiu-jitsu is unreal. One of the things that's been really cool to see is that my training partners in the beginning were kind of like, you didn't really know what to make of it. But now they're like, wow, the strength conditioning that you have really gives you a huge advantage to your competitors. And so now you've seen some of them start to get more into strength conditioning, because what's happening is you have a lot of guys who, brown belt, black belt, whatever, very technical. But, and this is just, again, a generality, is that there's a lot of people who are highly technical but are missing some of the strength and conditioning that maybe another competitor has, and it puts them at a disadvantage. Because at the end of the day, if you're similar in skill, the strength really, really can play a big factor, and conditioning. I mean, when you have a guy, mounting you and you can't breathe, it's tough to make a move.
Yeah. I had Bryce Meredith. He's a 3-time All-American wrestler on the podcast last week. And one of the things we were talking about is just how fatigue pretty much makes a coward out of everybody. Like, you're on the mat, whether it's wrestling or jiu-jitsu or whatever, and you get fatigued and the other guy's not fatigued, he can pretty much just do whatever he wants at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, you almost break the person, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what we talked about.
In CrossFit, what we like to think about it, or at least, Chris Hinshaw used to teach me with his running, what he used to call it is like breaking the seal or breaking the band. And so what would happen is, let's just say you're on the track. Let's just say you're on the track and you're running. These guys are giving me a hard time because I've been outside. They're building the rowers. So let's just say you're on the track, right? And you're 10 meters behind, or you're neck and neck with somebody. Then all of a sudden you get within, you push that out to, let's just say you're neck and neck with somebody on the track. And then one of you starts to back off, let's just say 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters. Once that person gets back about maybe 5 meters, all of a sudden you broke the seal. And mentally and physically now, they don't believe they're in the same arena as you. And so you've now dominated that race. And so it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. You'll see is that you'll get to a point where you're dominating. And then all of a sudden they'll just like almost give up. You'll like kind of see it in their face. I think conditioning plays a big role in that.
Oh, I think CrossFit too. Like, it's just, I think you see that a lot in that type of strength and conditioning, more so than other forms of strength and conditioning, because everything is timed.
That's right. Absolutely. And I think anytime you're against the clock, you're adding this level of stress. Yeah, but you know, in sport, whether it be jiu-jitsu, whether it be CrossFit, whatever, you want to try and establish a position where you establish your dominance is a good way to put it, right?
Yep.
And once you establish your dominance, whether you're in a workout and it's a, 4-time workout, you're at regionals, once you break that seal, once you establish, you want to let your second place person know that, hey, they now need to fight to maintain their position versus fight to try and beat you. And that's a key component, when you're competing.
That's awesome. So what's next for you from a business side or from competing? I know you're doing some jiu-jitsu. You think you ever do get back into the CrossFit game?
I don't know. The thing about CrossFit that's tough for me is that I have certain expectations on myself, right? So in jiu-jitsu, there's not really much expectation. I go out there, I learn a new sport, put my back up against the wall, try and get comfortable with uncomfortable, really push myself. But in CrossFit, because I've developed such a toolbox of skills, I have certain expectations for myself. And unless I believe I could put myself in a position to perform to my expectation, I don't even want to put myself out there. And some people might disagree with that, but for me, it's like, with how much commitment I have right now to the business and my family, I don't have the time to allocate to put myself in a position where I think I could actually win. So I'd rather just take a step back and not even put myself out there until I'm ready to be in a position where I can actually win.
Yeah, that's understandable. You think that you'll be in that position again?
Time will only tell. When I feel like when I feel this deep desire to get it back out on the competition floor, I will pursue it. But until that time, right now I'm really motivated to, grow the business, do some awesome stuff, and have some fun learning a new sport, jiu-jitsu, while still obviously maintaining my fitness. That's what I'm really passionate about right now. If that changes in a year, then so be it. But I'm open to whatever. I just know that for the rest of my life, I'm going to compete in something. Whether that be a marathon, triathlon, whatever, I'm going to find something that I'm going to feel passionate about for a specific reason, and I'm going to go pursue it because I like the idea of competing. I like the idea of trying new things and pushing myself.
Well, yeah, I always think there's a huge benefit of just having something on the calendar. Just keeps you focused. You wake up, you're working towards something.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, yeah, exactly. And I think, there's a huge correlate between, fitness and then the rest of your life. I think sometimes we get really stuck in a rut and comfortable in life, right? Whether that be at work or whatever. I think it's important to continue to push past those boundaries. And one great way to kind of develop that skill is to, take a physical tool. Let's just say it's a race that's coming up and, set yourself that goal and then go after it. And, I'd love to see how it translates into other things in your life. And I think it will.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Jason, this has been a lot of fun. How can people get more information about you?
They can visit my website, jasonkhalipa.com. I'm probably most active on Instagram, Jason Khalipa. And, those are probably the two best ways.
Awesome. I'll put the links in the show notes.
Yeah, we got a book coming out, AMRAP Mentality, the next couple months. So stay tuned for that as well.
Oh, cool. What's the book about?
Just about the AMRAP mentality. It's about kind of, being present and focused on whatever you're doing. It's about, kind of some stories about, the sport of CrossFit plus business and just things I've learned over the years.
Oh, so is it more just like a kind of like a personal development style book, or is it?
Yeah, more like a mindset. Yeah.
Are you a big reader?
Yeah, because of how much I travel, I try and read. Yes, I try and read. I as of recently, I haven't been too stoked on much, but I try and pick up what I can, and I'll pick up a book and I'll read. I'll take little snippets from everybody. And so it's been great, but I think, I'd like to just share my perspective of what I've learned over the last years and see what people think.
Yeah, 100%. What was the last book that you were excited about that you read?
Well, I just read Tony Robbins, but it was more financially related, and it was just kind of intriguing on some of the stuff he was talking about with it was more intriguing based on some of the analysis he's done about when you could actually start funding your retirement. It was just interesting. It wasn't necessarily motivating.
Which one was that?
I don't know, the most recent
Unshakable,
one.
maybe?
Just put out. Okay. Yeah. And then, I read Gary V's with the digital marketing is really interesting. I just got done reading, I believe it's called Crushing It.
Yep.
And then, I'm a big fan of just Mark Cuban's Sport of Business. He has some random stories in there that get me fired up. I kind of take motivation from all these different places. But as of right now, obviously Tim Ferriss came out with his different books. I like to read them all, and then I like to listen to podcasts. Obviously, NPR has this one called what is it called? It's about the small businesses. It's about how we built this.
Yeah.
This. That's a pretty interesting podcast. So I've been listening to that a lot too, and just trying to consume information, trying just to self-evaluate and try and raise the bar.
Awesome, Jason. This was a lot of fun, man. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. I know I had a ton of fun producing it for you. And before you go, if you could just drop me some feedback, I'd love it. I love reading your feedback. So you can go over to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating, write a little review of what you think of the podcast. I absolutely love it. I read every single one. But it's cool if you don't want to do that. I get it. No one wants to really go out of their way to do anything, let alone write a review. But I want to get your feedback. So drop me a line on Instagram at Hunt Fitness, or on Facebook, Kyle Hunt, or on Twitter, or send a pigeon or something. I don't know. I just want to hear your feedback. So if you want to give me some feedback, let me know what you think. Hit me up on Instagram at Hunt Fitness. And before you go, I have one last thing I want to say. I have a program I want you to check out. It's actually called the Absolute Strength Program, and the link is in the show notes. It's a program I designed to help increase my own squat, bench, and deadlift. And I got pretty strong off of it, and I think you're going to like it. It's a great book. Thousands of people have got amazing results from it. It's in the show notes. All right, guys. Until next time, until next episode, peace.